Thank you guys so much for the time that you've spent with your group this afternoon, and wanted to give another shout out to our sponsors. We have our friends at University of Technology Office at ASU have helped support this event, as well as AWS and University of Arizona. So thank you so much for all of your support and contributions. So now we get to meet the judges. How are we doing on folks coming back from their working sessions? I think we've got a good amount of people. Okay, so let's meet the judges. If you can go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So let's go around the horn, and if you can spotlight the folks so they can wave and people will know who they are. We have the lovely Samantha Becker, who has been my co-dive partner, and she will be a judge as the founder of ShapingEDU. She knows what's going on here. So there's Sam, and we have Melody Buckner from University of Arizona. Hi, Melody. And we have Taylor from Microsoft. How's Taylor doing today? Okay, Kurt from Lucid. Let's give us a wave, Kurt.
Howdy. Hello.
Howdy. Hello, hello.
There's Taylor.
There's Taylor. Hi, Taylor. And we have Tim Hogan from Road Trip Nation. Hi, Tim.
Everybody.
Excellent. So these are your 5 judges that will be evaluating your pitches, and they all have the rubric which your team captains were provided and hopefully shared with you. So you guys know how you're being evaluated and what content you're being evaluated on. So thank you guys. Thank you judges so much for volunteering your time. And we're excited to see what you guys have created, pitch makers. So very good. Thank you, Taylor. Really quick, what we're going to do with the rest of our time together today, we're going to get into the pitches, and each team will have 10 minutes to do with what you wish. So if you want to pitch for 9 minutes and 59 seconds, you can totally do that. Or if you want to spend a few minutes pitching and the rest of it with Q&A, you can do that too. Completely up to you guys. At 2:10, the judges are going to convene in a breakout room, and the rest of you can stay here. Paul is going to play game show host and go through some ocean trivia with you guys while you're waiting for us to come back. And at 2:30, we'll come back and make sure that you guys know who got which funding. So we'll be sharing that with you guys again at 2:30. And what you see on the screen now are all the times when the pitches are going to happen. So without further ado, let's get team 1 up on the podium.
My name is Lisa Coster. I'm coming to you from Canada. We're going to start with a quick video that you're about to see is from the research project that's taking place in South Africa. So we thought we would give you a little intro to our project through this.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound impact on education across the world, from the shift from face-to-face to e-learning models and the impact it had on students' mental health. We're so inspired by the stories of how students, teachers, and educators around the world have responded to the pandemic, and we want to share those stories.
I'm studying interior architecture. I've been a teacher for about 4 years now. I
pretty much have to supervise our regional schools coordinators.
Everything moved online to use WhatsApp and Google Classroom.
A lot of students didn't have access to always go online for online lessons. A lot of teachers didn't have access to teach online either.
It's almost impossible to understand how different everyone's experiences were.
We're all human, we're going through the same thing.
Empathy is simple. It's the ability to understand what others are going through.
I really think that distance learning has been a good thing.
I think it's fast track out though. And guess what? Because of online accessibility, we can all work together.
Oh, thank you. So hopefully we have our other member here. So no story is complete without a student story. So we're going to let Faith talk about for a few seconds or a few minutes about her story.
As a student, a teaching assistant, and now an ASU staff member, I have watched learning evolve in previously unimaginable ways over the past 2 years. However, I would say what has not changed is the desire that learners have to provide us with new pathways and new ideas and challenge themselves. And these learners are the same learners that provide us with the most innovative solutions for overcoming barriers, addressing equity and access challenges, and moving forward with what education means for tomorrow. To keep building and formatting impactful and meaningful learning experiences, we have to incorporate the voice of the learners to create a solution that benefits us all.
Thank you. In a time when pandemic era challenges abound, we want to highlight successful teaching and learning stories. Our goal is to collect those stories, analyzing them to identify challenges and find solutions. We would also make those stories available to others, encourage scholarship, and foster numerous ways to produce positive results at local, regional, and national and global levels. And now I'm going to pass it on to Andrew to talk a little bit more about our project.
Thanks, Lisa. So I'm Andrew Caldwell, located in the sunny and warm Phoenix, Arizona. I am a representative of team number 1 on the agenda, and what we hope to be at 2:30 this afternoon to be number 1 team in your hearts and wallets. And so what is our ask? We are indeed asking for the entire allotment. Not to be selfish, we're certainly willing to work with some of the other participants and teams which we know well. But in order to get the things what we wanted to get accomplished, we believe that this seed capital will help us accomplish that. And then we have built in or incorporated the anti-fragility and self-sustaining capabilities to obtain additional resources. So I'll be back with you at the end of this presentation. But with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Tula, and he's going to show you some of the research that's already been completed.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm Tula Dlamini from South Africa. As the team has already alluded, we plan to promote scholarship around the stories we are collecting. Primarily, we have an opportunity to create an online repository of stories, a searchable database. Identify categories of analysis, be it access to technology, mental health, or whatever. And hopefully, through scholarship, and we can generate data-driven interventions. Based on the research we have already done, we believe if we can expand our research population sample, we will gain greater insights on a range of aspects, and by extension, creative solutions and best practices. There is a case for immersive learning here. This pandemic has evidently impacted face-to-face learning, and immersive online learning offers a good alternative, particularly for learners in remote settings. We can solve for such challenges. Experts say the concept of a metaverse is $1 trillion business opportunity. This is a great challenge and opportunity for businesses that wish to do good for education. Over to you, Paul.
We're really happy to be part of this. The whole initiative here shows how we've come together and what we're capable of doing together. Last summer, when we were at a ShapingEDU conference, this whole issue came up of how do we document success stories in learning and how do we disseminate those? Out of that came team meetings that have been happening every 2 weeks. And when this conference opportunity came up to pitch for funds, we were delighted to have a few new people join us. It's actually broadened us out. We've got Lisa from Canada. We've got Tula from South Africa. There's another person who just joined us from Zimbabwe earlier. Banu, who's part of our team, is from India. So I think we're well on our way of actually starting to spread out exactly the way the project would fold out, which is saying we're open, we're accessible, we want to have these stories, we want to have diverse voices, and that's what we bring to the project, that's what we bring to the table. And we hope that it really reflects the spirit of collaboration within ShapingEDU. We want to do long-term things, and we want to collaborate with the resources we have within the community while drawing new people in and saying, we made a difference. So I'm going to give it back to Andrew to bring this all back.
Jump right in.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Yeah, we'll go to Chris.
We want to identify at least 5 communities on-site, online, and blended from different countries or online communities where we can document success stories by the end of 2022. We want to look for a diverse set of communities, including those with limited resources, so we can show how they create their own creative approaches overcame barriers that have stopped others. Some examples that we are exploring our potential target groups are a community of homeless people, such as Tent City in Pensacola, Florida. People who live in remote areas where they are constrained in terms of access to learning opportunities. Indigenous communities, subcultures such as foster children or military children, and people benefiting from mental health care services. We clearly value a project highlighting and responding to the needs of diverse voices from around the globe: students, teachers, trainers, workplace learning, administrators, and colleagues from nonprofits like the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And now I believe Andrew is going to polish it off for us.
Oh, thank you, Chris. As the CEO of an ed tech company, we provide remote proctoring on a global scale, right? The research that this group, and I've only been part of it for the last 48 hours, but the research that this group can create is incredibly beneficial to other organizations and how we shape the products and services and solutions. And so again, what we're asking you guys to do is consider all of the presentations today. We certainly appreciate our constituents. However, we are indeed asking you for the entire amount and believe that we can sustain it. So with that in mind, we'll wrap it up, and thank you again for your time and your effort. We now will go to open Q&A sessions.
So the time we have left, any questions from anybody in the audience?
Hey, quick question, Sam here. Thank you so much for this description and just hearing about the intent and the aim, super ambitious. How will you know that you're successful? How will you measure your success along the way? And what do you have built into your strategy to sort of pivot based on, needs or opportunities that arise?
Success is going to come from the idea that we've set up a specific timeline and saying we want to collect and start disseminating these stories before the end of this particular year. We know that we will be successful because we will have collected stories. We have target groups that Chris mentioned, 5 different communities that we'd like to be working with. So that's a rubric built right into it from the start in terms of who are we trying to reach, did we reach them, and how much impact did that have? So that's a quick answer with a lot more behind it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I have a question about distribution. So you're going to collect the stories, and there's some modeling that I assume will occur. How are you planning to disseminate the stories to find the right audience and to make sure that they're listening?
We're going to start with our home base here in ShapingEDU. We've got some tremendous resources there, including a project page that is in existence, and we have newsletters and other things that go out, so we will be doing outreach there, but that's just the beginning. The members that join this project and have been part of it for a long time are versed in the idea of always inviting people and putting the resources out. One simple example is there's a Facebook group with 30,000 educators all over the world. We could be posting things on that site saying, we've got this, join us, share these. It'll be Creative Commons, so there's no paywall.
What's that?
We're done.
Are we on the Gong Show? Did we just make
That's
Gong?
That's as bad as a hook.
I think that means no more questions, folks.
Wow.
That was dramatic, very dramatic. I apologize. That happens after every question I ever ask. That's just,
Thank you, Kurt. That was a wonderful denouement. You're part of our team now.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Needle.
Needle who?
In the emerging credential space, we need a little help here. So if you've ever been in the digital,
I'm already giving you props, Andrew. I'm already giving you props for that. Like next
you.
level. That was fabulously dry. I love it. Outstanding.
Wonderful, wonderful. In the emerging credential space, we definitely have a problem. There are lots of different concepts. There are lots of different definitions. There's lots of different meanings to these definitions and different solutions that are out there. And so somebody who's trying to step into this emerging credential space is likely going to be very confused as they try to understand what some of these words mean and what some of these concepts are. But because there's a problem, that also means that we have an opportunity. What we have is we have an opportunity to help organize this information and to curate a toolkit of sorts that can help professionals in the field understand what these emerging credentials are, what potential solutions can be brought by use of these tools that are out there, and also to help provide clarity to organizational units and also endorsement agencies as they begin to support higher education, community members, and other entities who are stepping into this emerging credential space.
And that ties in so nicely with the Shaping EDU call to action to humanize and democratize learning. Because if we can unravel this crazy school of credentials, we're going to end up with a world in which all learners throughout their stages of life are receiving that recognition of learning and are able to own those credentials and share them as they see fit. Which aligns with the UNESCO call for 2030 to ensure that we're providing inclusive and equitable education. Right now, our credentialing is held in by systemic parameters, but if we can unlock all that with K-12, industry, continuing education, higher education, lifelong credentialing, we create more opportunities for everyone at all phases of their life. And so the solution that we're proposing is to start through this curation, analysis, synthesis process to unravel into an online toolkit. And we're going to start with targeting higher education and members such as IT, the registrar, faculty, and learners of how these can connect with industry partners, employment opportunities, community, continuing education in K-12, so that whoever comes to the toolkit can see themselves and say, those are the resources for me. And as they're guided through that process, they can end up with a tangible plan to build their own ecosystem and see how it can impact them. This is important to connect in our industry partners with higher education so they can see the symbiotic value to their relationships. We're going to start this at a mini summit in April, where we're going to build our community, gather some experts and hear from them of what is really needed in this space. And then we're going to keep that community rolling with monthly interactions.
So who will be the key stakeholders in this toolkit and utilization of this toolkit and also participate in the summit? Definitely higher education administrators will be part of the landscape. There are many questions that persist in and amongst this group. And as a community college administrator, I've heard a lot of the cries out there for clarity in this space. Also, so too will employers and trade associations. After all, whatever these micro-credentials, digital badging, and emerging credentials may look like, they need to have utilization in the employment space. And so if we don't engage our employers or trade associations, then we'll definitely miss opportunities. So too will lifelong learners be part of our stakeholder group. Students want documentation of the learning that they've achieved throughout their lives, whether it happened in class or outside of class, through a certifying agency or through an institution of higher education. And as stakeholders, they'll be able to provide clarity for us as well in this space.
And so this is going to be a living document that will constantly evolve and change with the community. But initially, we're going to start, we've identified 3 phases to start in. 1 is the mini summit kickoff. 2 is to engage in a discovery phase with a UX designer, researcher to help us identify what is best going to meet the needs of our audience and what solutions will best work with that. And then phase 3 is the actual development of the initial launch of the toolkit. As we said, this will be living, so it will continue to evolve. This is just for the first phase.
So building collaborative partners within the process is also going to ensure success of the toolkit. We already know that there are quite a few fine institutions, some of them listed here, that are engaged in this space already and have already identified some solutions and also can provide clarity for what some of these definitions, meanings, and applications of the tools may be. We also know that there are employers that are active in this space and industry leaders who are providing emerging credentialing solutions. We know that there's opportunities for growth in this area, even maybe from companies such as Microsoft and Adobe.
And so where we see how Shaping EDU can help is with the web-based resources. Since this is an online toolkit, we would love to continue to build off of the existing Shaping EDU structure, marketing and system for community engagement. And we're looking to continue to build that community to gain feedback and members of how we can spread this resource.
But we're not here just to talk about a great idea. We're actually here to ask for money. And we know that it's going to take some resources for us to be able to accomplish our vision. We know that building the toolkit will cost a dedication of resources and financial resources on top of human capital as well. And we estimate that that will cost about $5,000 for an initial launch. We also know that there are many great solutions in various places that were well-intentioned, but if not adequately staffed and monitored and supported, that these really great resources that are out digitally seem to die on the vine. And so we know that we need to dedicate money to personnel who are going to who may continue the work of investment, continue to curate the existing resources and identify new resources to bring into the toolkit. And we recommend that that funding be set somewhere around $3,500. And we also recognize that this great work that has happened didn't just happen over the last 2 days. The team has been meeting for quite a while, almost a year. And in that capacity, we've recognized the need for some measure of continuity. And so providing some measure of support for the existing team members to be able to ensure continuity for a long period of time will also increase the longevity of this project. We know that we will reach out to other existing grant-based organizations in the future for phase 2, and to private organizations for potential phase 3, and maybe even beyond from there.
And so this are the wonderful team members that have joined us for this challenge. And we are a small representation of that existing community that has almost 30 members. And we are looking forward to growing it in the future to make this vision a reality. And so now we'll open it up for questions.
So to the judges who heard and the audience who heard my question last time, it's going to be really similar. How do you plan on marketing and distributing the solution? I think one of the big weaknesses in trying to find conformity in credentialing and alternative credentialing is gaining any level of consensus in the industry. So what's the plan to go to market once you have the quote unquote platform built and ready to go? How do you plan on disseminating that to potential users?
I'll take that if that's okay. I think it's built in the development process. We know quite a few of these industry leaders, both in private organizations, but also in public companies, and also that stand in nonprofits that are willing to participate and help in the defining of what this toolkit may be. So in identifying those leaders and asking them to participate in the building of the toolkit, then that will ensure dissemination through their individual organizations and then through their associations beyond. It's been my experience in this space that while it is a growing space, all names seem to point back to a handful of foundational individuals. And so getting the buy-in and support of individuals who have experience in the space and who are willing to support the toolkit building will absolutely support the longevity of this toolkit.
And to build on that, that is something that we have heard from some of those voices, that this is a space that is needed to be addressed within the existing community.
Any plans to monetize, to sell the toolkit?
No, there's not, at least not that we consider.
I did it again. That was me. I asked the death question, apparently.
Well, thank you, Allison and Andrew, and thank you, Kurt, for making the gong.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, you bet. So I want to give the judges a minute to make notes on their rubric while we set up for team 3.
Well, hello, everyone. Our team is going to talk about the Immersive Cafe of Cultures. So let me begin by sharing a quick story. I came here about 20 years ago to the United States as an international student. I came with nearly perfectly knowing the language And yet, when I first arrived, there were so many things I had to figure out. I wanted to talk to people, and I wanted to really make friends and navigate the world. And yet I had not really a good way to start with. And like many international students, spend a lot of that time only in my room. Well, guess what? There are over 1 million international students coming to the US every year. It's not just the students that come to the US, but those who travel from the US to other cultures, as well as not just those from other culture, from Asia coming to Europe and all across the world. And then all of us want to learn about different cultures because we actually want to connect with each other. We live in a world where cultural understanding is one of the key competencies in being successful, in being mindful, in being actually productive and collaborative. So what we want to present to you is our concept of Cafe of Culture, an immersive place where students, people, and lifelong learners can meet and exchange exchange conversations, learning about each other's cultures, a safe place. When you enter the place, you'll be able to actually choose whether you want to be in an English-speaking North American cafe, or whether you want to be in a European-style cafe, or maybe you want to just jump back to the Middle East and Dubai, where one of our members came from. We embody a very diverse team, and that also was very much embodied in the project and research we overtook. There's already some research and presence in the field, and I'll have Emery speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, we were actually very surprised that there was not more work being done in this area. Current focus on most cross-cultural understanding is on leadership, cultural competency training, or workforce training organizations such as Striver. There are some current programs that tend to focus on foreign language, Penn State, and some small, very interesting ones, but they're very small and not internationally focused, such as the Vermont Folklife Center. And in terms of data, Stanford University and other places have seen that XR and immersive experiences have the potential to cultivate empathy. Okay, we can go on to the next. And so this responds to ShapingEDU's calls to actions, particularly the primary and secondary catalyst of fostering serious play, immersive experiences in XR, and also to humanize and democratize learning for students' whole authentic selves. It also responds to the UNESCO Education 2030 alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals, affordable education, relevant skills for financial access, inclusive education, and what we thought most important, universal literacy, because literacy cannot be defined as educators have traditionally seen it, as being able to read or even understand media. Literacy has to be being able to understand and respect each other.
A lot of content to cover, and so the scope of our project includes a toolkit for cultural competence that is designed for educators of students approximately between 15 and 20. So here in America, it would be high school and college students. That is going to provide educators with resources to help foster that cultural competence with their students. We have a QR code here, and I've got it linked to the toolkit itself. But as what makes our toolkit really unique and really impactful is this immersive XR experience that Maya will talk about in more detail.
Thank you, Amber. So what is it? Well, we envision a social space, a message space, a listening space. What would that mean? So for example, you can come and visit the Immersive Cafe by arranging a meeting with somebody from the culture you're actually interested in learning about. So this will be the social space. You also, as you engage with things, may want to actually leave messages in our message space so that you can connect with others in terms of interests, topics, conversations that can happen from the message board. In addition to that, you can come in and actually be in our listening space. And that will be more like curated events offered to participants on different topics, from arts to culture to business and education. we also want to make sure that our participants have a place where then can express themselves and share it with the world. And this is another way you can become more intimate with really cultures. And that will be our story space. Imagine just being able to walk in and have a lobby from where you can enter some of those spaces. Another place where we've envisioned is a much more quiet space, a reading space. And then, of course, finally, there's so many people interested in arts and culture, museums, and that will be the space to shine, the space where you can be the presenter. We envision connecting this to a number of resources that already exist. For example, the Google's Arts and Culture. That will be a great way to come in and do a virtual tour. Maybe you're just interested in checking the Louvre together with friends from across the world, where you have a space to ask questions, learn about the culture, and at the same time, practice your skills in understanding each other. So this will be some of the opportunities that we would like to encourage in the Immersive Virtual Cafe. Now, we want to link to some of these additional resources that exist with museums, arts and culture, and make these partnerships. We actually want to give people, our participants a badge. If you engage in some of these experiences and actually you're not just participating, but you rise to give a talk, then you actually may progress in getting a different badge. That also can actually lead us to create partnerships with local coffee shops, so that some of those, which may be a small number, who choose to travel, can visit a local shop and enjoy a cup of coffee, and even meet the people that met online. So we want to connect the digital and immersive world where it all starts. We get in a safe space, and then actually bring those partnerships to life whenever that is of interest in the physical world, and connecting those unique and authentic experiences. So how do we do that? We envision a web VR or web XR experience. We know that the mobile phone is the most ubiquitous device still in the world, as well as the desktop. But as being a mobile XR, some participants will be able to walk in using their phones, some their desktop, and others will be just able to put on the headset and fully immerse themselves in these amazing spaces, which will be very much culturally relevant. They'll be built with sensitivity and lots of different artifacts that our participants can engage in. And we also envision them actually being able to bring their own artifact. Now, what are we asking you for? Well, we know that, is as part of the development work, some of us team members can pitch in and work together. And so this is one of the asks. And we also want to bring students, particularly students who can actually represent different cultures, in helping us enrich this experience. And so these are, we look into potentially starting with a small set of cultural exchanges that could happen from, rising from actually some of the teams kind of most closely understanding, as well as some of the members who join our team and going forward. We envision this being a prototype that maybe starts small, but then in the future, with some more research funding and grants, growing it to potentially a much more richer cultural exchange space with multiple language and cultural rooms. This is our team.
Very international team, right? Yeah.
All right. So we want to make a space where you had come to learn about a culture and at the same time being comfortable to share about your culture. We want to promote cultural understanding. This is something that we feel we all need in order to navigate what is becoming a much more complex world. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We can open up the floor for questions. Or maybe not. Good timing, guys.
Saved by the bell.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Emery. And thank you, Amber, and everyone on your team. That was an excellent presentation.
So Dave and I are from Team 4, Data-Driven Learning. And what we're going to talk today about is Penelope. So today we're going to tell you a bit about Penelope's story. So here we have Penelope. Penelope is a student, an incoming college student, and she's just trying to figure out college. She's trying to figure out what university or college she should go to, and she's feeling like it's a really big decision. Penelope's mom didn't attend college, and so she feels like, you know, she's on her own sort of making this decision. Now, while her mom and her are poverty affected, she received a Pell Grant and she's looking for a school will help her get a job because she wants to move her and her mom sort of beyond their current financial situation, right, into a better financial situation. Now, she did some research and she knows actually that only 40% of students find that college provides them with the skills used in the workplace, or that it opens doors for job opportunities. Now, also she knows that somebody with impairments like herself, it could lead to an 85% unemployment rate. So she knows that this is a huge investment, especially if she's not going to be able to get a job, but she's hopeful she will be able to, and she's just trying to figure it out. She does know, though, that college students are in a greater percentage, over 50%, reporting that they do grow personally and intellectually by attending school. Now, this is super important to Penelope. Why? Because not only is she looking to get a job and to move her family beyond their current financial situation, but she also wants to make a difference in the world. Now, she's concerned about things, especially in light of the pandemic, about social justice, equality and access, about climate change, and she's not even sure if a college degree is right for her. But she wants not just a good job, she wants to make sure she's having an impact on the world. Now, the information given to her, for example, by existing college scorecards or other sources, are just telling her the economic information, such as graduation rate, cost, earnings. And so while she knows the economic factors and understanding a program or institution are super important, she also is really sort of interested in the humanistic and social sort of pieces or factors that are going to influence her choice around an institution. And so we have a problem, right? We need to help college students based on their concept of success, provide them with data and information that's going to help them make these decisions. And we need to move beyond just the idea that students just want to affect the economic factor in their life. There's a whole bunch of other factors that our students are looking to grow, areas they're looking to grow in when we're talking about higher education. And so the problem is we need to help students ensure their post-secondary education is economical, but it also delivers on some of these non-traditional outcomes that you see on the screen in front of you. And we call this framework the triple plus bottom framework. And so in the triple plus bottom framework, what we're proposing here is that this framework would be used of data and information would be used to inform something that we're calling the Student Global Impact Hub, or the SGI Hub. So we're using data actually to improve the student decision-making experience and providing them a better understanding of the triple plus bottom line, a better understanding of what institutions will help them succeed in life, moving beyond just getting a job. Now, the triple plus bottom line, some of you might be familiar with the triple bottom line when we're talking about business, but the triple plus bottom line moves beyond just economic, social, and environmental to some of the other factors that we consider from a systems thinking business perspective. And so we know that these are the 5 factors that influence students' decisions around picking a university. So to give you a more specific example, when we're thinking about economic things or the data that's available from the US Department of Ed or from the scorecards, we see things, right, like cost, graduation rates, employment rates, and those sorts of traditional metrics. While yes, our dashboard, the SGI Hub, would offer that to our students, we're also looking at including some of the other social and human impact factors that students are interested in 2022 and into the future. And so what does the SGI Hub look like? So again, this is a student-driven, based on students' ideas of success. that we would aggregate data and information into a student-facing dashboard, this hub that would provide students information on these different 5 factors based on the different colleges and institutions in the United States. So again, taking the scorecards a step further to incorporate some of the other triple plus factors of higher education. On the left here, you'll see an example of the dashboard. And on the right here, there would also be obviously a mobile app version because we know predominantly that that is the device that students are using to access their information and to make decisions. So the key here is that this hub is a visual representation of the university's global impact or their triple plus bottom line for students. This helps students gauge their needs and how they align or their needs align with the post-secondary institution's ratings. So this data visualization would measure a range of these factors that we've discussed here, not just economic factors, but some of the other factors as well. Now, remember, this provides transparency for the different institutions and what they're providing for students, and it also is a series of meters here providing students with this information. So it's better illustrating the factors that are going to impact students. So what's our utopia? Again, this is student driven. We're expanding awareness of the metrics that are important to students, and we're creating transparency and accessibility to this information to students through the SGI Hub. Now, how does this relate into the calls to action? I mean, it relates to them several different ways, right? Not only is this a data-driven solution that's going to be student-facing, but this is being responsive to students' needs that we're not hearing in post-secondary education, not just their economic needs, but their social needs. We're providing opportunity for students to not just go out and get jobs, but be more responsive to global issues that mean something to them. We're not only empowering learners, which definitely this does, but we're also empowering global citizens in our nation. So phase 1 of this, which is the primary product and output that we're talking about, is a framework. So this is, a 5-year, $10 million project. Oh, wait, wrong audience. So we focus this down to phase 1 would be really focused on developing a framework. And so we've identified different actionable goals and a timeline on which we would complete these different actionable goals so that we could produce this conceptual framework that includes sort of identifying competition. We're looking at identifying existing data sources and data that we still need to determine different ways to measure in order to bring this in. We also want to make sure that we're validating this framework with stakeholders. And in particular, this is all about students. So all of this product development really centers around students. We also have other phases as far as prototyping the website and the data that's already publicly available. And we've identified this as phase 2. We've also already identified phase 3, which after we have evidence that it works, we'll be scaling up this product to a product launch. We'll have promotions there as well and other information available to you. Dave, did you want to add anything to this one?
No, mostly the phase 3 is about scaling up that MVP that we'd created in phase 2 and hopefully reaching a wider audience to help increase the amount of impact that we can have with the SGI Hub.
Great, thank you. Now we have a long list of possible partners. Myself is leading the Data Research Center. We already work with over 20 institutions across the country. I'm at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And so these are some of the partners that we've worked with or that we've identified as a team that we can leverage our networks to be a part of this initiative. As we know, Jobs for the Future, the U.S. Department of Education, EQUOS, or the EQUIP project already were identifying and moving beyond existing scorecards. We know there's lots of nonprofits that have worked to identify quality indicators of programs and institutions. We need a place to test this and gather stakeholders. And there's also lots of people that are doing work in competency-based education and aligning programs and outcomes of university to jobs. And they're already touching on some of the human factors that we've been discussing. So next steps, our ask is for 5K so that we can get this environmental scan off the ground. We could do some competitive research. We've already done that, honestly, and some of our work here in the past few weeks, and knowing who our competitors are and how we can build off where they've failed. So our goal here is we're one step closer to the SGI Hub, helping students make decisions based on factors that are meaningful to them. And this is our team, and thank you so much for hearing our pitch.
Excellent timing.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions about this one.
And I have 50 pages, like a report that we already wrote, just trying to come up with this pitch.
So Tanya, maybe you and I should talk. I don't know if that's appropriate for judges, like apart from the judging, after that's all over.
After 3:30, Kurt, after 3:30.
Yeah, I'd love to learn a little bit more. This is super interesting.
Oh, sorry, that's my alarm going off, which disappeared at halfway through. And I was like, oh my gosh, where's my timer? Thank you all for listening. Really appreciate it. We're really passionate about this idea.
Excellent. Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Dave. And thanks for self-regulating with your timer. And Kurt, we'll make sure that we connect you guys so you can ask questions and participate after the challenge is over.
All right, welcome esteemed judges, ShapingEDU, Pente pitch teams, and honored guests. Thank you for joining us today. We are Connexus and would like your support in closing the digital skills gap. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Team Connexus.
Team Connexus who?
Team Connexus is going to connect you to the neighborhood and make you cry with this video of broadband needs.
We can make an impact with a digital navigator program. Here's the city of Belle Glade in South Florida. Most of the people of Belle Glade are Haitian immigrants who are now working in the sugarcane fields. Most of them live below the poverty level, 41% to be exact. Very few are connected to broadband. Here's a map. Here's Belle Glade. Very few dots. Adult after-school programs, as well as children, learn with paper and pencils because they don't have devices and they don't have connectivity. The FCC has launched the Affordable Connectivity Program, giving them a discount on their Wi-Fi towards devices. But they've learned that the best way to implement the program is with outreach partners. In comes Digital Navigators. This is Marana. He's connecting with neighborhood friends, the mayors, and community activists to help them become digital navigators in order to assure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities.
I think I'm up now. I want to just give you an example in a community. 57-year-old woman who was recently laid off from the dress store she worked at for 25 years. She's having a really hard time finding a new job and is pretty low tech skilled person. She really recently got internet from one of the government programs, but doesn't know where to start. She goes to the public library to meet with a digital navigator to help her get started. It is the role of a digital navigator to empower citizens and to address the skills gap at a grassroots community level. And we propose contributing resources to support a scalable digital navigator program. Volunteers from within a community would get training and support to become a resource for their community, both in person and virtually. These navigators would tap into community structures already in place.
Building and strengthening across the community the sense of empowerment and belonging by ensuring that there is an equitable distribution of both the capacity and infrastructure that we'd expect to see built and established across the country and across the globe, but to also ensure that as individuals have got equitable access to broadband internet service and the necessary infrastructure, but they also then have and are able to articulate what they are needing in their own lives and that of their families and communities to the services that are being rendered, hence leading to the sense of digital belonging. Think of it again as fostering a sense of localized community neighborhood, but across the globe.
All right, we have heard and seen how people are affected in the world around their digital skills. And here are some of the prevailing trends that we found from a 2021 RAND Corporation report. Widespread and rapid digitalization has occurred, making digital skills an essential attribute for a modern workforce. The skills gap and its impact has come to the forefront over the past couple of years with the COVID-19 pandemic. Globally, it's becoming increasingly clear that the digital skills gap comes at a cost. Our traditional modes of education alone may not be keeping up with what we need in our society and our digital skills. Having access to the internet is only one step, because without the knowledge on how to use it, people are not able to connect with what they need. Here we're showing the digital skill level differences among some of the countries of the world. It ranges from areas of 0 to 100%. So in order to decrease the digital skills gap, we propose training digital navigators and are seeking funds to augment a current course and create outreach channels to begin to fund and find and train the navigators to go into communities. Barnaby?
And this is a space that already has proven focus as well as committed effort that's occurring across the country. So there are distinct partnerships that are happening within or distinct intersectional capacity and opportunities of support and future development between the ShapingEDU broadband community here at ASU, or the work that's happening within the State University of New York, SUNY, and its educational emerging technologies lab, or what's happening within the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, this broader recognition of the importance of a digital navigator and what they do. There's also there's additional awareness that none of this can be done either by a single institution or by just the public-private. It needs to be this broader collaboration that needs to then result in a driving solution.
So our call to action, this reflects for ShapingEDU, is to empower builders of digital fluency and digital inclusion. And we connect with UNESCO 2030 by creating inclusion and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning. Our digital navigators will be able to connect with the people in their communities to continue not only their individual learning of digital skills, but also connect them to broader communities to receive healthcare and connect with family and friends. Adrian, can you talk to us a little bit?
All these things that we propose are in the best scenario, but to make this project sustainable, we need to think what could be a possible problem. So avoid that. We have our courses, in platforms that we can download. Also, we will use cell phones, and the possibility to always generate communication between these digital navigators. So if one navigator falls down, there is another one and another one, and it's a matter of design and be creative to solve problems and challenges that will appear during this process.
All right. Thank you, Adrian. Robin and Barnaby.
Okay, so thank you very much. The wonderful graphic here describes a little bit about what we will be doing with our proposal. We ask for the support in funding the proposal to be able to develop a training community that will be modeled after the successful SUNY MTech course. It already exists and has a lot of resources that are Creative Commons licensed that we can reapply to this new initiative. We will apply a train-the-trainer process to develop a continuing growing support community. It will have a micro-credentialed pathway to nurture those digital navigators to serve as mentors and subject matter verses. These navigators are already pre-identified by the NDIA organization. We will outreach to underrepresented groups, and we will focus on the communities surrounding the historically Black communities and universities, colleges and universities, and Hispanic serving institutions. We will leverage intersectionality opportunities and support. And if we're able to, we'll be able to translate what already exists and what we redesign into new content, initially into Spanish and then with multiple languages to follow after that. And we also have our, the next slide has our wonderful team who have put together this proposal. And Barnaby, do you want to close it up?
Yes. So what we're really hoping, let's rise from the depths of all these details and surface questions that you may have around this. Again, it's a proven pathway. There is national awareness, and there are intersectional partners that are already aligning to the space. There's funding that will definitely help realize, and by taking advantage of some of these already proven solutions, we can scale and provide additional value and impact. Questions that you might have.
I feel like somebody was trying to ask a question. I feel bad asking another question since I feel like I'm asking all of the questions.
Well, you're
No.
here. Ask
It just means the bell's going to ring. This is the death
Right?
question. Hold
Here you
on.
go. Prepare for the death question. As far as compensation for the community outreach volunteers, I forget what you
Digital
call them.
navigators?
Yes, the digital navigators. Will that be a volunteer position? Are you looking to pay those folks in their communities to drive this?
Well,
you can answer. You can answer.
It's realized in two fashions, both in volunteers because people have a passion and a committed effort to help address the needs of their own community, but there's also funding to help support either partially or fully roles within this and across the country.
Yeah, interesting. I worked at Pluralsight and helped create Pluralsight One, the philanthropic arm of Pluralsight. And this is something that with your project, you probably want to reach out to them because they're looking for the type of scale that your project is offering for these marginalized or disadvantaged communities. So just a side note to that.
Mr. Walker, it feels like we need to have a collective virtual coffee and talk about this further.
It'd be my pleasure.
Okay, so funding announcements. Are we ready? Do we have a slide for this?
Is this a true false question, Stephanie? Because we've been playing that game and it wasn't very effective with this group.
This was multiple choice for sure. Okay, so here we go. Funding announcements. Yay. So we'll do it this way. In the tie for 4th and 5th place, we have teams 1 and 5, both were allocated $500. So in the tie for the next spot up, next spot up, we have team 3 with a $4,500 fund allocation. And then we have in the number 2 spot, we have team 2 with $7,500 allocated. And drum roll, first place, we have team 4 with a $12,000 allocation. So congratulations to everyone for participating. If you could all team members, if someone from your team could send me the deck that you used, it will help our communications folks as they write a summary of the event. And we would greatly appreciate that, or just send me a link to it if you have it in Google Slides. Any questions, thoughts, comments before we wrap up? Excellent.
Hey, can I just say before we go, of course, it's going to be me saying something else. So what's new? Well done, everyone. Like the work that went into this and the project's really well thought out. I really enjoyed myself, and to see work being done in so many areas that are important to me, having worked in education and ed tech and higher ed, and that conjunction between education and skills and work. I really appreciate the time and effort you put into this. So thanks for letting me participate.
Yeah, I don't want to echo Kurt. I mean, I know also just in any area where there's a competition, there's always questions like, well, how are decisions made? So I'm glad that y'all got to see the rubrics, but I'll be open and sharing that in my own allocations. I looked at also at, readiness for partnership and poised, to make an impact, tomorrow, because I think, there's a lot of great work to be done. And I also think that all these projects have inroads with each other. And so I'm really excited to explore future collaboration possibilities.
Excellent. So thank you to all the teams. Thank you to the judges. Thank you to the folks behind the scenes who made all of this work. We appreciate you. And we wanted to give you guys the opportunity to submit your thoughts through our survey. So the survey will be emailed to you, and you can also just look at this QR code, snap a pic, and fill it out on your phone. We really appreciate that. Any information you have that you'd want to share with us regarding what we can do better next time, what you enjoyed and didn't enjoy about this event, we read it all and we take it all into consideration. So thank you in advance for your input. And huge thank you to Karina for making these amazing graphics, and Laura as well, who made some of our animated GIFs and did some cool graphics as well, like this octopus next to my head. So thank you all, appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you at events in the future.